Hello and welcome to the first SXTV news show of this year with me, Caroline Dunmore.
And me, Scott Ampleford. In today's show we'll be discussing everything to do with being a student at Essex. That ranges from Freshers Week to the Boobs Aren't News campaign.
Firstly, Freshers Week. We hope you enjoyed it as much as SXTV enjoyed filming it. This year saw acts such as Goldie Looking Chain and Wheatus take to the stage in Sub-Zero, with events happening day and night to welcome students to Essex.
It was a great lineup this year, so make sure you keep an eye on SXTV Online on YouTube for our Freshers footage.
On the 10th of October, the University of Essex became the 20th Students' Union to no longer sell the Sun and the Star on campus. Since its introduction a fortnight ago, the embargo has sparked a controversial and ongoing debate amongst students.
The SU has taken this action due to welfare concerns and the subsequent impact on student values. The decision is to no longer sell the papers has been backed by the Vice President of Welfare, Chantelle Carpenter, under the Boobs Aren't News campaign. The Sun and Star will now only be resold on campus if they stop devaluing women.
Both the SU and Le Carpenter suggest that page 3 objectifies the female gender and leaves women without a reputable voice. The decision to ban was originally reached last year at a union council meeting shortly after the 2012 Olympics.
On a national level, a page 3 boycott has been rejected by Prime Minister David Cameron on the grounds that it would obstruct freedom of choice. Private Eye editor Ian Hislop also supports his angle and has been quoted saying, "If you don't want boobs, just don't buy the paper."
The issue is complex and controversial and continues to spark intellectual debate. Ultimately, a boycott is ongoing until the Students' Union receive evidence of a national page 3 veto. Until then, tabloid newspapers The Sun and The Star will not be present in the SU retail locations. And now, on a lighter note, we have some film reviews from the University's Film Society.
Start with our good film, The Raid, which is coming to Film Society in December.
That's a cheap plug.
It is indeed. So, what is our views on the film?
Well, I mean, the choreography in the film is excellent. The visuals, I mean, all of it is really kept moving on the screen.
I think, the sort of the quick, pacey action scene, so adrenaline rushing, and you just feel this sort of heart pumping while watching it. Like it gives me, you make some sounds you don't expect us to do while we're in a film, but you can and just watching it, it's crazy. And I think the shady camera work just adds to this level of sort of intensity.
And considering it's the guy's first proper film that he's done, to do all of this and bring in different aspects of other cinema, American, Asian, whatever cinema he's taken influence from, and put it all into one with the martial arts, which is perfectly choreographed. To do that is very impressive.
The knife scenes, the hand-to-hand combat flow very well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it looks so authentic when you see the way the knife hits someone. It's just the blood will splash. I mean, let's just be honest, it's a very gruesome film. With its visuals, and there's a lot of blood spattering and punching people, and it's definitely a proper action film here. It's not dissimilar to anything we've seen before. It's kind of got a very die-hard story to it. It's one man trapped in a building with lots of bad guys, so to speak. But I mean, that doesn't hinder the film at all.
I would say as well, the fact that it goes straight into the action might suggest why the plot and the background story is quite small. It's a film which is sort of straight into martial arts, straight into shooting.
It doesn't waste time. It starts off as it is going to be like a Hollywood cinema kind of film, Hollywood's realist narrative, and it just switches into this martial art Asian cinema kind of style, and it really works. It has a full blend of
But
style.
the con with that, you don't build as much an emotional depth as some films.
True.
That is true.
With the antagonist not being so clear in human form, we have it more in as an object building becomes the antagonist. Let's move on to a room that we really wish was raided, and that is The Room, which unfortunately we don't have a copy of because I don't think anyone on this planet does.
I don't think anyone would ever want to want a copy of it.
No one would spend money on this. Let's try and just explain plot of the film. It's kind of a social drama, kind of, and it has key themes of love and lust and betrayal, and it has a man who's at the top of his peak, and he's betrayed and he falls from grace, and I don't want to ruin it, but it's kind of like a Greek drama, isn't it? Like we've seen,
A terrible Greek drama.
Very
badly written.
I mean, it pretty much is the director, Tommy Wiseau's ego trip. He directed it, he wrote it, he starred in it. So it's whatever he really wanted.
He's the nice guy that gets betrayed, he tries to help everyone out, and he just gets screwed over the whole time. And you're meant to feel sorry for him, but because he's not authentic as a human being, he doesn't even look like a human being. He looks like just just like some alien kind of thing. You don't have no emotional connection to the guy whatsoever.
I would definitely say that even if you cast someone like DiCaprio or Brad Pitt or anyone like that in this film, because of the weakness of the writing and the film in general, it wouldn't save it.
I could cast something out of this and it'd be better acted than Tommy Wiseau.
Well, because of the weakness of the writing, it's picked up quite a cult following due to its memorable lines.
Because the dialogue is so shoddy and so unauthentic, and it's just something no one would say, and it doesn't flow, it's not fluid, it's not realistic in the slightest. It has just become such a cult following because everyone laughs. I mean, you can quote it all day long, pretty much.
It's one of those films that, even though it's terrible, you kind of have to see.
So let's find a silver lining out of that last one and move on to Silver Linings Playbook. So what do we think about Silver Linings Playbook?
Well, personally, I think it's a good film. Some parts can be slightly cliche in the film, but it starts off really well, but as you go on, the Hollywood cliches will start to creep in, and that kind of ruins some of the atmosphere of the film.
I'll definitely agree with that. You sort of go through the film thinking that this could be a bit different with the whole mental illness sort of aspect of it, and it's quite a different rom-com at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it does let itself down as it goes on a bit with cliches.
But frankly, as a romantic comedy, it must fill some of the cliched aspects of romantic
It must
comedy.
do. Looking at the film, Bradley Cooper was better than Jennifer Lawrence, despite Jennifer Lawrence winning the Oscar.
And she got so much big ovation at the Oscars. I still don't think at the end of the day she was better than Jessica Chastain in Zero Dark Thirty.
No,
That's
yeah,
my
I agree
personal
with that.
view.
Obviously, you said about Jennifer Lawrence being probably not as good as Jessica Chastain, and I agree with that. I think it's a film which does deserve an Oscar, but it's interesting if she hadn't been put up against those people.
Would we think a higher light of her?
Possibly. I mean, she's definitely growing up from the Hunger Games.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, cause you think when you see some of these films that they are always associated with their genre. So like Daniel Radcliffe's always associated with Harry Potter. But you think Mark Hamill's Star Wars, but she seems to be moving away, and that's always a nice thing to see. Yeah, moving away from Hunger Games.
It's good to see diversity in an actor's role.
Exactly, and I really think she'll have a good future upon her. But as I said, on the day, I still think Chastain was better than the Oscar.
And I would say Cooper was better in this film.
I agree, he was fantastic, and this is something we're not used to seeing from him as the comic actor. And this is something really nice to see.
Thanks there to Aidan, Ben, Kevin and Bavi. There's a special joint screening this Monday with V-Team to show the powerful film Hotel Rwanda, which focuses on the genocides in the country. There'll be speakers in to talk about the atrocities of being a refugee of war.
Join them at 6 p.m. in LTB5 on Monday. Regular member screenings for Film Society take place on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so make sure you check them out on Facebook and Twitter.
Another issue which has sparked debate on campus this year is the Starbucks coffee decision.
The SU are deciding whether to use Starbucks coffee beans in their venues. Oppositions argue that ethically this is the wrong decision for the union to make, while others suggest that the taste of the coffee is much higher than other brands.
We turn to our debating panel to learn more. Guys?
It's a topic that has been debated very heavily recently in the University of Essex. Should we or should we not have Starbucks coffee beans supplied to the SU? Well, I have two people here that are arguing for and against. I have Alex Evelyn, who is here arguing for the debate, and we also have Eleanor Brimlow, who is arguing against the debate. So, guys, thank you very much. Alex, I'll ask you, please, 30 seconds to open up your statement.
Good afternoon. My name's Alex Evelyn, and I'm on the Yes campaign for the Starbucks. I'm supporting Yes because I believe we should have greater choice and diversity on our campus with regards to our coffee outlets. Starbucks will also be good for Essex and good for Essex students because it has a lot of community outreach programs, and it will also enable us to finance certain community-led projects, which I know Essex University is very good at. And I want a university that's broad and open in its approaches to having as many different suppliers on campus as possible.
Alex, thank you very much. Eleanor, 30 seconds, please.
Hello, my name is Eleanor Brimlow. I'm the editor of the Rabbit newspaper, and I'm here today because I'm backing a no to the vote for Starbucks on campus. I'm doing so because I believe that Starbucks is a corporation whose ideals are in conflict with that of the SU and the students at the university, and that it shouldn't be on campus. Given that we have the choice to eliminate it, it shouldn't be because it's in conflict with our ideals.
Thank you very much, Eleanor. Okay, guys, first question I have. The university spent over £200 million so far in the past year in improving the university campus. One of those is the business school. With Starbucks and the history of having poor ethics and a poor corporate social responsibility, is this the wrong time to be thinking about bringing in such a controversial figure into our university? Eleanor, I'll go for you first.
Well, I believe that the very fact that there is a referendum shows that the SU acknowledge that it's controversial, because otherwise they wouldn't have asked students to back yes or no. And I think with the recent scandal of the tax evasion, that does hurt students because it's a domino effect, because by avoiding tax, that hurts the recession, and universities are one of the biggest sufferers from this recession because they're receiving a lot of funding slashes. So I don't think the SU should give their support to a corporation that does this.
Certainly. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I completely disagree with that. Starbucks is a very ethical company, and it fits widely in with the Essex University belief of empowering students and empowering individuals. Starbucks has created 1,000 apprenticeships and 5,000 jobs over its duration of being here. It's got 750 outlets. It gives its staff above minimum wage payouts, and it also gives them a £400 a year Christmas bonus. So the idea of it being unethical, I just simply cannot agree with. It also has, it also pays tax in the form of national insurance, which would equate to about £50 million a year to the exchequer, which is a very sizable amount of money. And the idea of avoiding tax is a complete myth, because, hold on, this is an important one, because with regards to tax, it only pays tax if it has profit. But over the last 14 years of it being here, it hasn't taken out a profit, because everything it's earned is put back into the business. It's spent it either on giving bonuses, as I say, the £400 bonus to staff, or expanding their stores across the country, which they are still expanding today.
Okay, so going to your points again, obviously both of you have referred to the taxes, and obviously, Eleanor, you talk a lot about the tax evasion. One of the things in the major news at the moment is the corporation tax. A lot of companies recently, Starbucks, one of them, is avoiding this as such. And one of these reasons is the controversial Eurobond scheme, in which they buy stealth shares so that they could lower their tax profits. Should this loophole be tackled so that these kind of debates are avoided and aren't happening? Or again, is it just the fact that it's Starbucks, again, the ethics, the controversy, or is it focusing purely on the tax side?
Well, I believe the fact that they are partaking in loopholes and evasion as opposed to complete tax avoidance is in conflict with a student lifestyle, because we go to university and we work hard for 3 years and we're fully expected to repay our student loans in their entirety, whether that's through direct payment or as a percentage taken out of our wages. So why would we have a corporation that doesn't do this themselves on campus? And I think that there's a lot more to lose than there is to gain from having them on campus.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of myth going around, like the Yes campaign somehow supports evasion of tax. The Yes campaign wants every business in this country to pay the full, correct and proper amount of tax. We've always said that and we always support that. But as I rightly said though, Starbucks have not made a profit. You can't pay tax, you can't pay corporation tax on profits that have not been made. And no profit has been made, so therefore they cannot be seen to have engaged in any sort of loophole or any sort of tax avoidant schemes, because they have not done that. But what they have done is they've invested in communities by expanding their stores, which are giving jobs to low paid earners. It's giving them the opportunity to provide for their kids, provide for their families. It's also giving them the opportunity to have £400 bonus at Christmas time. And on the ethical side, I'll bring it back home to sort of Britain. They have, in Liverpool, they help a lot of vulnerable women that are subject to abuse, so it's doing its good communal side. It also has a lot of youth action projects as well, and tries to encourage young people to have a more public-spirited approach to life. And also, as I rightly say, you can apply for grants as well, and those grants could really help Essex. So it's a good deal for Essex students to have.
It's not the fact that we're actually getting stores though, it's the fact that Starbucks are going to be supplying us the coffee beans. So that is the controversial side of it. So will these grants still be applied to Essex?
The grants will still apply, yes. If you're part of a Starbucks franchise scheme, you will be able and eligible to apply for grants of any sort, because you're still using their name as such on campus.
Okay, so obviously already on campus we have a Costa machine that is extremely popular, and our coffee bar in the Students' Union bar as well in Square 3. Is Starbucks needed? Is it something that the consumers just want or desire, or is it something that actually University of Essex does need in?
Well, we'll know what the consumers want when we'll find out at 5 o'clock on Friday, providing you all vote yes. But as I say, when I said in my introduction, I believe in choice. you know, as much choice as possible. That is the best way to go about it. So I have no issue with having an additional outlet. Have 6, 7, have 10, 20. The more choice, the better, you know. Literally, the market will decide who wants what. If they want Costa, they'll shop at Costa. If they want Starbucks, they'll shop at Starbucks. But if they don't want Starbucks, they won't shop there.
Yeah. Anna?
I believe if it's a question about choice, then we've been given that. So that's kind of eliminated from the argument, because the fact that we're having this referendum shows that we do have the opportunity to decide whether or not we want it. And clearly Starbucks do offer, you know, graduate schemes and apprenticeships like you were talking about, but so do a lot of other corporations who don't partake in tax evasion. So I don't believe it's needed at all, going to your question about whether it's necessary. I think it's completely unnecessary because we do have a lot of choice already. So why would we introduce a corporation that's immoral in its economic values?
Can I just quickly say, I'm sorry, I've got to be very clear on this. It is an absolute fallacy that they are evading or not paying any sort of tax.
Okay, but the thing you said about that it's not made profit, could you explain that a bit more?
What I mean it's not made profit is, it's had its income in throughout that financial, for the fiscal year.
Yeah.
And once it's had that income, it's paid out its costs, i.e. upkeep for buildings, wages, staff, and so on and so forth. Then once that's all done, they've then put the rest of the money, what would have been profit, which if they declared it as profit, it would be paid, but they've decided to invest it back into expanding their franchise in the UK and paying the £400 bonus, and also doing their community outreach programme.
But they have themselves admitted that they have not paid tax parallel to their income, especially when you compare them to other corporations that have many outlets and make a lot of profit.
But everyone has different business models and different business practices.
Yes, they certainly do.
But they have not made a profit though, and that's the key thing. If they made a profit, they'd have to pay it, but they've not made a profit.
They're one of the most profitable corporations in the world.
Their US branch may well be, but their UK wing, their UK branch does not make a profit, and therefore
So they declare?
No, they have not made a profit because they've been investing it back into the business. They've been investing it in the business, in the people, and in the communities, which would be a good thing for Essex to have.
That might be true for the UK, that they've partaken in that loophole and they've portrayed themselves as having that image. But overall, as a company, they make a massive amount of profit. So
they may make a profit in other business, in other aspects of it. I mean, it's like, for example, Microsoft. They may have a loss-making branch in Switzerland, but a profit-making branch in Indonesia. Obviously, in Indonesia, they have to pay the tax, but in the loss-making part, they wouldn't pay the tax. And I think it's a bit of a redundant thing to go on about.
But as a company, they shouldn't be avoiding tax anywhere.
As I say, they shouldn't avoid tax, but they should be paying tax to the letter of the law. And they are paying tax to the letter of the law.
I believe it's to the letter of their law.
If they haven't made a profit in the last 14 years on the UK branch, it cannot pay corporation tax.
But that's because they've chosen to invest it with the full knowledge that they are profitable enough to be able to do so.
So you don't support them investing into their workers or investing into local communities, providing
I
jobs
support
for students?
Guys. Last question here.
I would just say I support that totally, but they do that because they can. Not
they do that because it's a community-oriented.
Final question. Okay, so Starbucks have announced that they've paid £5 million. This is the first time since 2009 they've paid £5 million in corporate tax, and in the past 14 years they've only paid in total £8.6 million in corporate tax. Is this fair? Is this legitimate? Plenty of companies have been publicised in the media that they've been avoiding corporate tax with their mass profits. Starbucks, technically, they have actually made a profit. They have actually announced profits in here in the UK as well, and with their figures. So again, that's that whole controversial debate. Is this ethical for the University of Essex? That's my final question to you guys. Is this ethical for us?
No, because like you just said, they have made a profit, so they're abiding by their own loopholes and rules. I don't think we should support it, because once one university advocates Starbucks, then every other university will, and they'll have tapped into another mass market. And Starbucks don't need our business because they're already a very profitable company, so I don't think we should support them because of their flawed values.
Alex?
I want to make clear, as I've said at the start, they've only paid tax in the years where they have made a profit. When they have not made a profit, when they have invested in 1,000 apprenticeships, 5,000 jobs, expanding their business up and down the country, providing safe havens for vulnerable women in Liverpool, providing community grants. When they're actually out there helping the community, you've got to think, what benefit can that have to Essex? And it has the ethical side, and it also follows the letter of the law. So I do feel Starbucks would be a great alternative to the coffee venues we have on campus.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for expressing your opinions. Thank you very much for the debate.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, guys, thank you very much. It's back to Caroline and Scott.
Thank you. Please tweet us what you think at SXTV News and make sure to cast your vote either in the squares or online before 4 p.m. on Friday.
We apologise for that. A few technical difficulties there. There have been numerous changes over the summer, including the redesigning of the SU reception, menu changes in a lot of the venues, as well as Level 2 becoming a new games room, and it's now called Level Up. Another change you should be aware of is the latest entry time policy operating in Sub-Zero.
From Sunday to Monday, you must be in the queue by 12, and on Friday and Saturday this time is 12:30. Tweet us what you think at SXTV News.
This year also sees the launch of the Student Street Market, taking place every Thursday on Square 3.
The market gives students and external businesses the chance to sell many different things, with stalls ranging from cake to vintage clothes to greengrocers. There is something for everyone.
I'm particularly fond of cake. Cake's always good. And now we turn to our resident sportsman, Mr. Tom Phillips. Tom.
Thank you very much, Scott. Hey guys, it's early on in the Bucks season. Freshers are setting into their new sports. One of the many full days of Bucks fixtures has just finished today, and yet Derby Day is just around the corner. That's right, Bucks has kicked off yet again, and the Blades are hungrier than ever for their success. We have a new sport introduced in korfball, just as popular as all the other sports in their first year, and we'll be looking closely at their progress in our new sports show, Blades of Glory. But enough of that, here's the headlines from the Bucks so far. The Essex men's first team in football, promoted as champions last season, started life in Division 1A with a defeat, but hope to get back on track with a win away at St Mary's today. The basketball firsts, They look to resurrect their defeats from their first games. Both the men's and the women's are at home to Queensmary and Hertfordshire respectively. At the weekend, we see Ultimate Frisbee travel to Dagenham this weekend, where they'll play fellow universities in the South East in the Bucks Regionals. All the volleyball teams hope to continue their undefeated form. The men's firsts are away to Queensmary, whilst the women's are away to London Met. In Club of the Year lacrosse are away to Imperial College today. The men's look for their first win, whilst the women's look to add to their winning tally. This weekend, the futsal men's firsts are away to Brighton this weekend, whilst their seconds entertain Writtle at home. Rugby Union and the men's firsts entertain Imperial again, hoping to bounce back from their defeat to Kent away. In the local news, Colchester United are hoping to break their run without a win so far. The U's have not won a game since 10th of August against Port Vale in a 1-0 win, and haven't gained a win in the last 12 games in all competitions. The U's are also facing an injury crisis at the moment, with winger Sanchez Watts and defender Josh Thompson facing long spells in the treatment room, and have only signed 18-year-old defender Elliot Lee as replacement on loan from West Ham United. They face a tough match against promotion candidates Peterborough United, who haven't lost a game since August. Well, that's all the sports news for me for now. See you at SportsFed. Back to you guys.
Cheers there, Tom. And that brings the show to an end. We want to thank the staff of the Students' Union, Emily Townsend for her contribution to the Film Society Committee, and a huge thank you to the Media Centre who've made this possible.
I've been Caroline Dunmore.
And I've been Scott Ampleford.
And we've been SXTV. Thank you for watching.